Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted in the What Should I Do subreddit by a user named Sort Revolutionary. The post is titled, "My boyfriend bought concert tickets for him and his female friend." Hi, my boyfriend and I have been dating for almost 3 years. One of his favorite bands is coming to town next year, and with Christmas approaching, I decided to buy tickets for the concert for him and me. I had a feeling he might have already bought tickets, so I asked him if he had purchased something for himself recently, and he said no. Today, at date night, we were outside a restaurant talking, and I asked him again, and he again denied it. He opened his phone, and I saw that one of his friends had texted him. Keep in mind that I don't like this friend. I asked him if I could see his phone and he said yes. I went through their conversation and saw that he bought concert tickets for himself and his girl best friend. This ruined date night and now I'm crying and feeling dumb. I already bought the tickets to surprise him on Christmas, but that's already ruined. What should I do? I think that this is on the stranger end, and it's not something I would be okay with if I were in OP's position. I'm not completely against the idea of your partner having friends of the opposite gender, but when it's just the two of them, especially in a concert setting, I wouldn't be okay with it. This is amplified by the fact that OP has already stated that she doesn't like this friend in the first place. User No Self JJW said, "Sell the tickets or find someone better to go with and leave him." The fact that he didn't ask you first if you wanted to go, or at least check if you were okay with him inviting her instead. He didn't even tell you after the fact that he got them, even after being given 2 prime opportunities to mention it. And lastly, having to go through their conversation for any reason means the relationship is already on the edge. A lot of these friendships that may make you uncomfortable as a partner, like your man having a girl best friend, can be platonic. However, usually at some point, one of them has had feelings for the other and has been put on the hook. They remain in this friend zone where they will keep dreaming about the day they get to be with this person, and any partner they have in the meantime is just to fill a void until they can be with that person. Alternatively, they may have tried a relationship at some point and it just didn't work, which creates a dynamic that would be hard for you to fully accept as the new partner who clearly doesn't come first in all situations. After 3 years, you still haven't worked this out to a point where you are fully comfortable with her. If that indicates anything, it's that you will never reach a place of comfort with their relationship, and this will continue to be an issue. Either get comfortable with it or move on. At this point, it's not changing. Either you change or you leave. I'm sorry you're dealing with this right at Christmas time too. That's a difficult place to be in. Regardless, I hope and believe that by this time next year, you will be in a better place than you are today. I hope that for us all. User Dear Parsnip said, "If you actually stay with him after this, tell him you bought him tickets for Christmas and give them to him. It's up to him what he wants to do with them. It's not your problem that he wasn't honest with you. Don't buy him anything else. If you decide you deserve better than someone who lies and goes on a date with his girlfriend instead of you, sell the tickets and buy yourself something nice." I would seriously reconsider the relationship though. It's odd that he hadn't considered taking you to the concert and is taking her instead, and he doesn't bother to tell you about it. That's a big red flag I wouldn't ignore. User Specialist Bai said, "One word, communication. You two need to sit down and have a conversation about this situation and what each of you really wants out of your relationship. Tell him your true feelings about it and express openly what your deal breakers are and stick to them. Find out his deal breakers and give yourself a few days to reflect on them, think about them, and decide if they are things you will be willing to accept. Most relationships don't last or work due to poor communication between the two people. Life is short and there is no reason to waste it with someone who just isn't compatible with you. If the other person isn't compatible, it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. They just might not be a good fit for you. I lost a woman that I thought meant the world to me when I was in my late 20s. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized our biggest issue was that we didn't communicate with each other like we should have. Don't listen to all the negative people who say to leave him, only you know if the past 3 years are worth fighting for or not." Update. Before I tell you what happened, let me give you some backstory on why I don't really like my boyfriend's girl best friend. My boyfriend and she have been friends since they were in middle school and high school. They became friends because she was dating my boyfriend's best friend at the time. Unfortunately, my boyfriend's best friend, her boyfriend, passed away, which led to them getting close. When my boyfriend and I started talking, I actually met her and we all hung out together. She was really nice and cool to be around. I even told my boyfriend, hey, I really like your best friend. This all changed when my boyfriend and I started dating officially. She would start blowing up his phone, blowing up his phone. She would send him about 10 text messages in a row, start calling him, and leave voicemails if he didn't pick up. At first, I thought, okay, maybe it's an emergency or something, but no. All she wanted to do was hang out with him alone, go to bars with him, get massages with him, and have him come over to her apartment. I obviously started to get suspicious because not once did she consider inviting me, knowing that my boyfriend was taken. Over time, I began to feel suspicious and jealous, not because I'm insecure even though she is a pretty girl, but because I felt disrespected. Eventually, I confronted my boyfriend and asked him if they ever had something going on or if he ever had any feelings for her before. He denied it, telling me he would never do that to his friend who passed away and that he only saw her as a sister. I told him he needed to talk to his friend and tell her that he is not single anymore and that he isn't going to be free for her whenever she wants. She needs to learn some boundaries. Obviously, that did not sit right with her, and she continued the same behavior. My boyfriend has always been there for her whenever she needed something, but now that he is taken and can't be there for her, she gets upset. I won't make my boyfriend choose between his friend and me because I would hate to be put in that situation too. I trust him not to mess things up, but if he ever does, then that's on him and his loss. He has distanced himself a bit from her for my sake, but he says that she is still his friend at the end of the day. Now, an update about the concert. Yes, I did talk to my boyfriend about it. Some of you are asking why I didn't tell him that I was buying the tickets. Well, it was supposed to be a surprise. The whole point was not to tell him. No, I am not a die-hard fan of this band, but I do listen to their music here and there. Apparently, his friend texted him about the concert and asked if he could go with her, which he agreed to. He bought the tickets for both of them, and then she will pay him later for hers so that the seats would be together. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think it's messed up that he didn't care to ask me if I wanted to go. He said he didn't know that I liked the band. If he had known, he would have asked me. I did ask him why he kept saying no when I asked if he had bought himself something recently, and he said it's because the concert is months from now and he thought I was talking about something related to his fish tanks or his truck. He said he didn't expect me to buy concert tickets, and if he had known, he would have never bought them. Also, the only reason I went through their messages is that I saw she texted him, "Let me know when you get the tickets." That's when it hit me, and that's why I asked to go through his phone so I could double check. After having a long talk, he did offer to go with me instead. I told him to talk to his friend and let her know ahead of time so she can find someone else to go with her. I guess we will have to see what her reaction will be once she finds out he won't be going with her anymore. I feel like it was a big miscommunication on his part for not telling me. What do you all think? This next post was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named Neat Entrepreneur. The post is titled AITA for not wanting to give my friend her key back. I became friends with a couple when they moved to my city about 3 years ago. I met them together and am closer with the wife, but I am also still friends with the husband. About a year ago, the wife moved to another city for her job while the husband stayed behind to finish his master's degree. I got a call from the wife in September. She was inconsolable and said that she had a brief affair with someone but called it off because she wanted to focus on her marriage. The other person did not take it well. They found the husband and told him everything in painful detail, complete with screenshots and photo evidence. The husband was obviously blindsided and devastated. They are still in 2 separate states, and the husband has gone low to no contact with the wife, asking her for space. She has been incredibly emotional since this happened. I've been in contact with her multiple times a day, even just to check in and let her know she's loved and important, but she's understandably been a mess. I've seen the husband a few times. I let him know that the wife told me what happened and that I just wanted him to know that I'm here if he needs anything. My goal is to just be there for both of my friends and not get in the middle. To me, it comes down to some bad decisions that were made that had really painful consequences. There's no villain in this story. People are not the sum of their mistakes. Fast forward to the present day where the wife was served with divorce papers. She wants to talk to him in person, but he doesn't. He agreed to FaceTime only if they do speak. She wants to fly here without telling him and show up on his doorstep to fight for the marriage. They have a door code to their apartment that they use every day. They also have a key, which they gave me about a year ago when I was watching their pets. When I went to give it back to the husband, he said just to hang on to it. He let her know that he has changed the code to the door, so right now she has no physical way to get into the apartment if he's not home. She's also concerned that he won't let her in if he knows it's her, which I don't think would be the case, but who knows. She asked me to pick her up from the airport and give her the key so that she can get in. I said I'm really not comfortable with it because I don't want the husband to feel like I've betrayed him or was part of some sort of ambush. She's also walking in at 10 p.m. when he is not expecting anybody. I'd be really spooked if it were me. He's former military, but I just think it's not great to surprise anyone that late. I know this sounds stupid, but I suggested that if she takes an Uber to the apartment and he won't let her in or isn't home, I can drive over and give her the key then. But she said no. She is on the lease, so she can still legally enter the apartment, so I've reluctantly agreed to give her the key up front. So am I the asshole to him if I give her the key, or am I the asshole to her if I don't give it to her up front? Edit 1. I should have clarified that they were still together when they gave me the key, which is part of why I'm conflicted. She technically gave it to me with him there. She had already moved for her job when I went to give it back, and he told me to just hang on to it. Edit 2. This is a difficult situation because her mental health has declined significantly since this all occurred. There have been episodes of self-harm and suicidal thoughts where she was actually making a plan and reached out to me. I was able to coordinate with one of her friends there and convinced her to admit herself to the hospital for a 48-hour hold. So her mental health has been incredibly fragile. That doesn't excuse the choices she's made in any way. During those episodes, she asked me to reach out to her husband to tell him about the state she was in, and I told her no because I felt like it was manipulative. I also felt like whether he responded or not would only impact her negatively either way, and she needed to work with her therapist to help her through this. The support I've given her has been solely regarding her mental health. I haven't engaged in any conversations with either of them about the other. She has mostly vented to me about her deep regret, remorse, guilt, and lack of self-worth because of the choices she's made. As her friend, I've really tried to support her as a vulnerable human being by reminding her that we are not the sum of our mistakes. While this is painful and has some deep consequences, she still has so much to live for. I say all this because I'm seeing a lot of comments saying that I inserted myself into the middle of this, but this all just happened today. She asked me for the key, and I told her I wasn't comfortable with that for the reasons stated in my original post. She is obviously emotional, and again, she is technically the one who gave me the key, which is why I reluctantly agreed. But then I came here because my conscience is telling me that's not the right decision, even though I feel like I'm trying to balance a sensitive situation that has been really intense. Edit 3. Wow, what a jolt this has been in such a short span of time. First, I do want to say that I absolutely think the choices she made were wrong, and so does she. She knows that she messed up and has been torturing herself over it in some really intense ways that I am absolutely not qualified to help her navigate, but I have tried to be a supportive friend through it because of the immediacy and severity of the help she needed at the time. Thanks to everyone for their perspective. I think I have been so worried about her emotional state over the last few months that I've been too close to it to see what some of you are saying. That she's being a bit manipulative with me, especially when I told her I wasn't comfortable giving her the key. I'm going to call her tomorrow and let her know that I'm not giving it to her. I really appreciate the snap out of it slap a lot of you provided. User Ickle Bunny Kin said, "Do not get involved. Your friendship with both of them will irretrievably be changed. She lives further away and will more than likely not come back. He lives locally, so it's nice to have a friend you can trust. I would just tell her that she is putting you in an impossible situation and that it isn't fair. You've been there for her throughout, but this is one step too far. Let her know that you gave the key back if nothing else. Good luck." User JEJS said, "Congratulations. You took a situation where there was a villain and an innocent party, which did not benefit from your intervention, and you convinced yourself there was no villain. You decided you wouldn't get involved, but because you're not honest about things, you've tricked yourself, got right in the middle, aided the villain, and made everything 100 times worse. You must be super proud of yourself. I hope someone warns the husband about what kind of friend you are so he can avoid you and change the locks." User Feudal Pancake 79 said, I don't think you understand just how devastating it is to discover that your spouse was having an affair with someone who is not you behind your back, with photographic evidence no less. The fact that you're giving the wife a pass says just as much about your moral failings as it does about hers. Cheating is a lot more than a mistake. It's a betrayal on the deepest levels. The husband has made it crystal clear that he isn't interested in repairing his marriage, and he is well within his rights to do so. And here you are encouraging this woman to essentially break into his private space without warning. Are you really that naive to think this is a good idea? What if he shoots her? What if she shoots him? Do you really want to be a party to something like that? He gave you the key, not her. Mail it back to him and stay out of their marriage drama. Update. I let her know this morning that I wouldn't be giving her the key. As many of you predicted, she instantly responded with complete vitriol. No discussion, no please reconsider, none of that. Just straight to I can't believe you right now. I can't rely on anyone. Thanks a lot. Fine, you will regret it. I probably would have been shocked if I hadn't read the feedback on this post beforehand, so I was honestly unfazed and just responded that I don't support what she's trying to do. Like a few people mentioned, if the roles were reversed and the husband was asking me to do this, I would absolutely be saying the same thing, and she needs to respect my decision because it wasn't going to change. Among other things, she told me I was ruining everything. I let her know that unfortunately, she is the one who has ruined everything with the decisions she's made in the past, and that it's time for her to start taking accountability and stop looking for people to blame. I also told her that I would be giving the key back to the husband and letting him know what she was planning. She lost it, lots of swearing, lots of self-pity, threats of self-harm, and then said I wasn't a good friend to her. That's when I had enough. I told her I was done being a punching bag for her and that I know I've been a good friend to her when no one else was supporting her, and I saw her through some dark times. I said her selfishness had finally crossed a line with me. I ended it by saying that she's in a dangerous state of mind and that she should reach out to her therapist and share our conversation so she can get an objective view of it. I let her know that she needed help that I can no longer provide and that I was done. She sent me 2 apology texts about 5 minutes later, but I haven't responded and don't plan to. If she somehow shows up at my door if she flies in tomorrow, I won't be answering. Update on the husband. I let him know everything this morning. We're good and we made plans for me to give him back the key. She's supposed to fly in tomorrow night and leave Saturday. He actually won't even be in town this weekend. This last post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named Acceptable War. The post is titled, I think this woman is using me for free childcare. I teach boxing in my spare time and 1 day a week I teach it to kids. There's a mom who I'm starting to feel is taking advantage of these classes. She's increasingly late in picking up her kid after the session. To give some context, this is a wealthy woman. It's not that she's out working a job, she is a stay-at-home parent with no other kids. She told me all this because another thing she loves to do is have really long conversations with me on top of already being late. She's been late most of March. I talked to her about it at the end of the month and she apologized and said it wouldn't happen again. It did, twice now, so I started timing her. During the second week of April, she arrived 45 minutes late and then spent maybe 20 minutes talking to me. The other day, I timed her again. She got there around the 1 hour mark. I made a point to show her my timer and gave her a warning that I would remove her kid from my class. She still tried to argue, at which point I raised the timer and turned it on again. She said I was being unjustifiably rude. I explained politely that I have other obligations and that her consistent lateness throws my schedule off. She became furious and stomped to the driver's side of her car. Her kid rolled down his window to say thank you and goodbye to me. I told him goodbye and added, "Tell your mom to stop being late." She reported our conversation to my boss, saying that I told her kid he would get kicked out of the program. I didn't say that. My boss still gave me a lecture about how I don't have that power and can't make the statements I did. He went over professionalism and how I'm being too hard on this mom, who could have other circumstances going on. I do have a bit of a cold vibe and I'm working on that, but I'm not getting paid for the hour after this class that I spend hanging out with her kid. The kid's great, but I have things to do. For people who work with kids, what's the etiquette here? Do I give parents grace? Update. I appreciate the advice I received on the post I made. I learned a lot from you. A little bit of background on me. This is my first time working a job that involves kids. My actual profession is unrelated to boxing. This was mostly something I picked up spontaneously because I saw the merit in it and wanted to do my part to help. The program itself is very new and disorganized. Due to differences of opinion about how it's run, I doubt I will stay with it. here's the update. I took various notes from the people who gave me tips here. I wrote a detailed email to my boss and CC'd other people who run this program, including co-instructors. I did this for transparency, accountability, and to put pressure on my boss to provide a policy around the issue instead of dealing with us all individually or case by case. My boss didn't respond to the email. Instead, he called me in to see him. I kind of had a feeling he would. He asked me why I sent the email CCing everyone and was clearly not happy about my approach. He kept trying to minimize the situation and make me feel that I was in the wrong. He told me that I'm being greedy, that my attitude about one parent being late is exaggerated, and that I'm looking for problems. He suggested that I should essentially just wait around after hours if I need to sometimes because it's a program for kids, and I should do it with some heart. Do it for the kids. I had to turn my face to hide the fact that I wanted to laugh in that moment. Having proper policy in place not only protects the staff, it protects the kids, not to mention his business. After I made my perspective a little clearer, he came around a bit. Unfortunately, he flat out told me he would not back pay me for the time I've logged waiting for this mom, but he will implement a late policy moving forward. He has followed through on that. He tried to throw in other incentives for me, but I didn't accept them. That mom wasn't late this week. She did try to catch my eye when she picked her son up, and I ignored her. She ended up getting out of her car and asked me if I saw her waving. I kept ignoring her. She wore me down because she kept following me around while I locked up. I informed her why she was getting the silent treatment. She apologized and also tried to write me a check on the spot. I didn't take the money. I told her honestly that I might quit instead. I'm not sure about it though. I'm on the fence about just letting this go and playing it by ear class by class. Maybe the program will get smoother with time. It's not that much money anyway. Update 2. The short of it is, you guys were right. This woman had a crush on me or some kind of interest at the very least, and I was too angry at her and the situation to notice. We're seeing each other now. I won't get your hopes up because it's probably just temporary. Longer story. Towards the end of last year, she approached me. She said she was separating from her husband and hinted that the marriage was abusive. She mentioned that her reason for getting in touch with me was to take me up on my offer to teach her how to box. I told her I was only offering so I could make her suffer. The thing is, I don't think joining a combat sport immediately as a means to process abuse is always the best course of action. I understand why it's empowering, but if you're not doing therapy or something alongside it, it might frame things for you in an unhealthy way. So I think you need both. That's just my personal opinion. I felt ill-equipped to be the starting point of her healing or whatever, even though she was reaching out to me so sincerely. So I redirected her to someone else. She started going to those classes I connected her with and occasionally texted me about them. The texts were straightforward, questions asking for my opinion, etc. We'd have short exchanges, a few texts back and forth with no pattern and a lot of gaps in between. About a week ago, I ran into her in person and she convinced me to have coffee with her. I don't know how to explain it. There is some kind of intensity between us and we decided to see where it leads. User Sweet and Nasty said, I'm convinced that this woman was cheating on her husband and using her son's martial arts practices as an excuse to cheat. That's why she was always so late. It probably explains why she separated from her husband now and is willing to date so quickly afterward. OP is a damn fool. User Zool said, I hate to say it, but he's going to be the next boyfriend she claims was abusive to whatever guy comes around after him. She's a mess and he's even more of a mess for ignoring all these red flags. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.